Today, I would like to ask you to begin to dream of a plan for a different world, a fairy world. And for that, I would like to start talking to you about a person I loved, a friend named Julian Ariza. One day, we had a conversation about what women should or should not do. I remember I only told him that we could all do anything we wanted, regardless or whether he was a man or a woman. Because how many women have reached the top in their lives, and how many men have done nothing with their lives? So, the issue was not out there, but it was about establishing harmonies between what was being requested. I gave him an example about my father, who is a weightlifter. I told him that in that sport they classify both men and women with respect to their body weight and what they lift in kilos, and who get less weight and lift more. What I wanted to say that if two men compete and one lift 300 kilos and the other 200, would not necessarily win the one that would have lifted 300 kilos. If we weighted 95 kilos and the other just 70 kilos. And that was why the equality between men and women did not mean putting physics and the law of priority of the test, but in giving the same opportunities to show that everyone as an individual is strong enough that a person wants to be. My friend told me that I looked like a woman giving a speech to a feminist woman, so every day women will believe they were better than me. I didn't even know what feminist meant, but of course I didn't want him to know that I didn't know. So I just continued arguing, and I understood that everyone also interprets the information in a different way. That day I came to my house to look for the word feminist in a dictionary. And although I did not consider myself a feminist, but I shared many of the ideas they proposed. A few days later, I went out to march for solidarity in my country and met a girl named Lauren who had a total idea what feminist meant and more broadly was part of this movement, according to how she talked to me and expressed herself. However, a person who marched with her interrupted our conversation and only said, "Feminist women are unhappy women who just fail to get a husband." So, I decided to call myself the happy feminist. I began to read many books that sincerely bored me a little, and that it really cost to me a lot to finish to reading them. In the same way, I learned a lot, because to say no even more when all my life I read books on how men carry the full weight of society. They enter school as the book La Ciudad y los Perros, and the woman only stayed at home taking care of the house, serving to the woman of a man. But well, not too much complain about I was not born that time, so it was very easy to notice how the word feminist has a strong negative weight. It means that you hate me, that you hate bras and all that kind of things. However, I think it is a totally wrong idea of society. Feminist has a background more important than that. But I remember once in school, I wanted to be the leader of the group, and I really wanted to be. But I remember that the position was obtained by a sweet child. He was cute. However, he had no interest in the position, and still he won, just because I was a woman and he was a man. I will never forget that situation. In the beginning of feminism, there were two key moments. The first, called modern feminism, which emerged in French Revolution, where women began to present different ideas related to justice, democracy, and law. This gives rise to liberal feminism, responsible for expanding women's legal, political, and labor rights. On the other hand, we have the second moment in the 60s, and it was named contemporary feminism, where the women's liberation movement was born, which stated that society was formed by different systems of sex and social classes. In this period, radical feminism was formed, which bring together groups with different theories and positions about a movement that it was gaining strength. By the 80s, many approaches to feminism began to emerge, such as lesbian feminism, which defends the homosexuality of women related to the political, as well as denouncing the violence experienced by women, and their influence today is so relevant. Other is psychoanalytic feminism. This focus on the psychic, emotional, and sexual part of women who suffer oppression, and post-structural feminism, which in different ways analyze the performance of patriarchy against their ideologies. They also give different meanings to the term being a woman that varies and change caused by the different speeches. Finally, it is important to cover that the new generation of feminists that arise from the experience that were previously lived, analyzing power relations, proposing new forms of organization and strategy that allows a balance to be found. Men and women are different. We have different hormones, we have different sexual organs, we have different biological abilities, and in general, we are quite different. There are slight more women than men in the world, and yet men occupy most of the position of power and prestige in the world. Men rules the world. And this made perfect sense in a world years ago, because we lived in a world where physical strength was the most important in terms of survival, which in the end was the only thing that really matters. But today we are in a different, evolved, modern century that no longer should evaluate only physical strength, but who is more apt to lead with better innovation, creativity, who is smarter, and these companions should that we have involved, of course. But gender ideas remains today, and that's why I'm standing here in front of you. Feminism in Spain began to take force with the fall of the traditional regime and the death of Francisco Franco in 1975. This brought many changes in various aspects of society. Since the 80s, different feminist currents have emerged which contain themes such as class, gender, anti-capitalism that are still being seen explicitly in society until today. In Colombia, it is clear that feminist movement has not taken as much force as in other Latin American or European countries. However, there are two moments that mark the trajectory of feminism in our country. The first moment occurs from the 30s to 70s, where it focuses in the struggle of women's rights and equality. All this by the different organizations that rose as the Women's Union of Colombia, Women's Alliance, and Women's Agitation. The second moment begins from the 70s until today, that has been focusing on the reproductive and sexual rights of women and in the Feminist Against and Sexist movement have gained strength in relation to the mobilization for peace in Colombia as the main protagonist of these dialogues, since this means a possibility for them to achieve rights for the women, which have fought. Feminism, being an ideological current, is not limited to the role of women in society. Being an ideological construction of social projection involves the need for cooperation between genders, since it makes no sense to keep the spiral of oppression between genders. To say it, when looking for the sense of justice and coexistence, it is not about excluding other gender, but about achieving a social balance. Therefore, if support and cooperation between genders is needed to displace rigid structure of thoughts and social equilibrium can be reached, also permitting the thinking and action of men. Community psychology can, through its fields of action, impact on the multiple cultures and current contexts where the ideology of oppression of women are the hegemonic discourse. Because thanks to feminism being an ideal, it can be appropriated by multiple people, referring to this group as a collective which protects the essential rights of women, which can impact the social representation of communities through pedagogical and psychological strategies to protect and prevent women from abuse and dehumanizing treatment. Finally, we live in a world full of social problems which we have managed to understand through different scientific disciplines to provide an approach and intervention. However, we allow small difference to classify and divide. We should not allow difference to divide us as a species, since we have a great challenge right now that requires us to think beyond our difference for the survival of our species. Thank you very much.